So my wife and I became frugal kind of out of necessity because we had about 10 years ago 3 car payments. We were renting a house in California we could barely afford, and we lived paycheck to paycheck basically. We weren't late on our payments or anything like that, but we definitely were not getting ahead. I was diagnosed around that time with cancer twice, and the doctors gave me about 60 days to live. Now, that's an unfair advantage in figuring out what's important to my life, but we quickly learned what we're doing is not working. It was scary getting news like that, but it was the wake up call I needed to quickly learn what money is. To me, money creates safety and security. Early on in my 20s and 30s, it was about creating stuff and buying stuff. That's what money was for. And it was about living. Now it's about safety and security. And we all have that grandparent or parent or aunt or uncle that says save your money. But and if you're stubborn like me, until you kind of learn hands on, like it doesn't work. Someone telling you to do it, like you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I'll save all my money because my aunt Karen told me to. Like that's not reality. But when you're like me and you're given news, you quickly ask yourself this question, and you can ask yourself, which is, what would my family and loved ones be left with if I was no longer here? And my answer was simple. I had 3 car payments my wife would be left with. I'd have no permanent home. You could barely afford rent. And I was the only one working at the time. And we had just a lot of crap that wouldn't fulfill joy in our life or her life if I was not around. So we learned how to become frugal and start prioritizing and put ourselves in a better situation if I wasn't going to be around someday. So if you're watching this video because you're trying to figure out how to be more frugal or connect with somebody else that's frugal, here's my suggestion on helpful tips on getting clear on where you should spend your money. Take out a piece of paper. Maybe it's 1 inch by 1 inch if you can write really small, or 2 inches by 2 inches is fine. Cut it out and write down the things with your family on what brings you joy in life. Your great memories, the things that you enjoy every day. And once you compile that list, and you shouldn't have very much on there, that's the point. That's kind of what you spend your money on. So for us, some of the things that made a list was a home, which we didn't own one, and we were renting and not even didn't even have a mortgage. It was things like watching movies. It was time in our movie theater or home theater. Collecting Blu-rays is something, and collecting movies was something we both brought up. Cooking at home, staying healthy, and enjoying experiences as a family. Some of that made the list. I mean, some of those things we were spending money on, and other things we weren't. So things that didn't make the list were things like cars. We had 3, and that was a big chunk of our income. New phones every year. When we would buy phones every year because Apple told us to, I guess. Eating out. We were spending some years thousands of dollars eating out per year, and that didn't make our list. A boat. We had a boat that didn't make our list, although we were paying an obscene amount of money on this stupid boat that we never used. Vacations. We vacations once to twice a year because, well, isn't that what everyone does? And things like DirecTV with all the stations. We weren't watching all it really ever, yet it was a couple $100 a month we were just wasting by having it because we were supposed to. So we started investing in the things that did make the list. And things like we bought a house that we could afford, that we could pay off, and we got a 15-year mortgage. Things like movies. We eventually built our own movie theater inside of our house. And even joined a gym, which wasn't even on our list. Like, we weren't even spending money on a gym, yet it was something both of us said was important to us. So we invested in a gym, and we cut out things like DirecTV and just crap we didn't need in our life anymore. And so all the things that I just mentioned that we cut out, like DirecTV, like we just stopped. We found ways to eliminate it or pay it off and no longer have it in our life. But leave me a comment. What would make your list? Or if you've done this exercise before, what would you put on this list? So today, I'll share examples of my frugality. This shirt cost me $6 from Hobby Lobby, and I bought it on sale. Um, but I won't think twice about importing a rare movie. Like we just got one in from South Korea. It's the only place we could find this movie that we wanted to see, and we paid almost $40 for a Blu-ray so that we can watch it. And I can do that sort of things because I'm not paying top dollar for clothes, because I don't care what I look like. And I don't have Netflix or DirecTV anymore, so like watch the movies you want. Things like we'll go a year, or sometimes 2 years without eating out at a home, but we'll make, and we've gotten really good at cooking from home, so like we'll make a prime tomahawk steak that we bought from Costco, we'll smoke it on charcoal, and here's an example of what our food looks like from home. And it made us better cooks because we committed to not eating out, and we're saving a lot of money, and we even had more money to buy grills. So we have several grills now at home that we can experiment with just because we don't eat out anymore. We'll go to vacation maybe every 4 to 5 years, but when we do, we'll go stay at a really nice resort using points from hotel. So we're not just committing where we got a vacation once or twice a year. We'll make sure it's done right and, stay at the nicest hotel we possibly can. We built a movie theater in our house, so we watch movies every single night now because we're not going on vacations. And we did that because, well, watching movies was something we really enjoyed doing and vacations wasn't. But if you just cut everything out, you're going to fail. It's kind of like being on a crash diet. You're used to living your life one way and suddenly you stop. Sometimes that change is too radical. And I do believe the reason I've been able to keep this lifestyle going the last 10 years is because I added things into my life like watching movies and joining a gym, which is something I wasn't doing 10 years ago. But being frugal is a lifestyle. It's not a quick way of diet. Now, in complete full disclosure, if I was behind on my payments, which I wasn't, then I probably would have been more restrictive. So everyone's going to be a little bit different. The key is to not eliminate everything from your life and make sure you're still finding happiness and joy and enjoying your time with your family because we only have one life. By the way, if you haven't yet, it would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed to this video so it reaches more than the 20 people that normally watch my videos. So how making the choice to become frugal immediately changed my life is I started to feel relief in my life because I was making progress on my medical debt and our bank account was slowly growing. Because we were finding things that we could still spend money on, I didn't feel as deprived as I thought I would. And we went to a really nice gym and started working out, enjoying great dinners at home as a family, and enjoyed nightly movies. And eventually we became debt free, like completely debt free. No more medical debt, no more car loans, no more mortgages, nothing. Really, besides our property taxes is the only thing we're responsible now. But this should have an end goal. And for us is we didn't want to owe anyone anything to anyone. And I wanted to be able to sleep at night knowing my wife's home was taken care of. That was my focus in making this kind of radical change in my life to become so frugal. And we continued that lifestyle and mentality once we paid everything off. And we lived off of about 50% of our earnings every year. So every stock option my company gave, every bonus, every, why can't I think of the word? Oh, tax refunds, stuff like that. We just invested it. And we got used to living that way. And then we started investing in index funds. The one we use, if you're a nerd, is VTSAX with Vanguard. And we just put 50 to 60% of our earning there for over the last, I'd say probably 8 years and just let it grow. And now I earn more money probably in interest this year in the stock market than I will earning my job. So that allows me the ability to just walk away from a job I lost my passion for. All because I learned to be frugal. And like I said, I'm still buying movies. I have a nice theater. We eat out at home. So I don't feel like I'm sacrificing. I feel like I'm gaining control over my life by not spending top dollar on everything. And as far as what do you do with the money? Index funds worked for us. That's where I'd say most of our portfolio and our money goes now. But like renting properties, it wasn't for us. Individual stocks and researching what the latest with gold, that wasn't for us either. So we stayed in our lane and works for us. If you're someone that wants to rent properties, once you become frugal and you have extra money, have at it. But you want your money to grow and not just sit in a savings account once you start becoming frugal and cutting back and you pay everything off. So have a plan. Ours was index funds, and there's lots of better videos out there and people to describe what they are. But that's where my wife and I put a majority of our money now. So that's how becoming frugal